Hello, good evening. How are you? How are you doing? I welcome you to my channel. Thanks for joining in this evening. All right, so I will be sharing on the topic courage this evening, and I will be sharing 7 ways in which you can build courage. So we would look at 7 ways to build courage. This is very important, as we have seen that courage and success, they actually go hand in hand. So I'll be sharing with you on 7 ways to build courage. By way of introduction, some years back, I remembered that my mom, she was taking care of one of my siblings, and just immediately she stood up from where she was taking care of one of my siblings, handed him over to me, and she went for a stick. And I was wondering, why did she stand up so suddenly? And you know what? She came back with a stick, and lo and behold, she actually saw a snake. And she went for it. She hit the snake by the head. And of course, the snake too fought back. I actually didn't know what happened, but I guess she missed the head of the snake. And you know what? I was damn afraid. I felt like running away, but she was actually afraid too. But she eats faster and even harder, and that is courage. Later on, I had to ask her after the incidents that, excuse me, what informed your decision? Why did you stay? Why did you hit the snake faster and even harder? You should have run away. But she told me something, that she was afraid initially when she went for the stick, but she was more afraid when the snake fought back. But she said something: if I have run away, the snake would have, beaten her, and that was it. And she said, I have the choice to either run away or finish what I have started. And that is what I'll be sharing. In fact, one of the few people that actually encouraged me in line of courage was my mom. She was actually, I mean, she's still courageous. So she is actually courageous. So that is it. Now, courage is, first of all, not the absence of fear. We must know that. Courage doesn't mean that you are not afraid. As humans, we have the tendency to be afraid. In fact, if you are not afraid, that means that you are not human any longer. For humans, there's room for fear, but courage comes in play. What you do when you are afraid actually determines if you have courage or not. So facing your fear, it's courage. Having to do what is right with fear, that is courage. Facing that thing that makes you afraid is actually courage. So courage can be likened to boldness in the face of fear. So that is boldness in the face of fear. And again, we must understand that courage is not foolishness. There are some things that are regarded as courage, which in the real sense of it is actually not courage but foolishness. For instance, teasing a lion, that's not courage, for goodness sake, that's foolishness. A good example is that of Jesus Christ. He was told by the tempter to jump from the pinnacle of the temple. That's, of course, not courage but foolishness. So we do know now that courage is actually not foolishness. And again, courage is boldness right in the face of fear. Okay, so courage is actually boldness right in the face of fear. Now you got to finish that which you have started. Many people, they started out on a particular thing, but they didn't finish because of lack of courage. At the slightest resistance, they back off, and that is lack of courage. In fact, some people, they do not start at all because of lack of courage. They are damn afraid about the end result without even starting out. May I say that our mind is awesome, our mind is creative, and when you are starting out on a new enterprise, your mind actually gives you different possible outcomes. So, for instance, if I need to travel, for instance, my mind gives me several outcomes of that journey. The same thing was whatsoever you are doing, your mind will give you the possible outcomes, and of course, myriads of outcomes. And out of these outcomes, of course, quite a number of those outcomes are not favorable. So that, in a way, ignite or initiate fear in us. And that can, on its own, stop us from engaging or starting out on a particular enterprise. So we have two categories of people that lack courage. One, a category, they don't even start at all because they are damn afraid of the end result of a particular journey they want to, embark upon. Or and we have a second set of persons that they have started out, but they did not complete the enterprise because of lack of courage. And that is, at the slightest of resistance, they just back up. And these two sets of persons will obviously not get the favorable outcome that they need to get. And that is what informs my thoughts this evening. That is what informs what I'm sharing with you this evening on how to build on your courage, on how to build on courage. This is very important. Now, courage and success cannot be separated. You cannot separate courage from success. In fact, I need to say that every successful man is actually courageous. Every successful man, I repeat, every successful man is courageous. You know, courage and success, you cannot separate the two. In fact, great success goes with great courage. Now, just mention a successful man, I would actually mention a courageous man. If you need to be successful in life, then you need to be courageous. And if you need great success, then you need great courage. Now, when other people are afraid, in fact, that is the time you need to act. I read a quote recently. Was it Javed or something? Someone wrote it, and he said that you should be afraid when people are not, in business now, and you should be courageous when people are afraid to embark on a particular enterprise. So, when you talk of any area of life, it's actually important for you to be courageous. Without courage, you wouldn't record success, either financially, academically, in whatsoever area or endeavor of your life. So it's actually important to know how to build on courage. Now, building on courage is like building on your muscles. So I do not expect you to exhibit 100% courage at the initial point. It takes time to build. It's like someone that needs probably 6 packs. That individual will probably need to go to the gym, engage in routine exercises, and all that. Now, likewise with courage, courage has to do with exercising. It has to do with building your muscles of courage. So you need some time to actually work on it. You need a form of exercise to build your courage. And I'll mention 7 things or 7 ways to build to build courage this evening. The first is knowledge. You need to actually, if you're afraid about starting out a new enterprise, or you are afraid about a particular thing, you are afraid of a particular idea that comes to your mind, you don't even know how to go about it. I shared about how to break off poverty the other time, and I mentioned ideas, that you need ideas, you need innovations to actually break off poverty. And when you get the idea or the innovation, there's something that is actually very important, that is an ingredient to success, and that is courage, especially when you are the first person that is starting out on a thing. Of course, you might not even be the first person, but at times, in fact, many a time, we'll see that there is fear. So you need courage to actually overcome that fear so that you can act on that idea of yours. And one of the ways in which you can build on your courage is knowledge. You need to actually acquire knowledge in that endeavor. So, for instance, if I got an idea in a particular business, or a particular enterprise, and I'm afraid of losing my capital. I'm afraid of, some people, they can give you 100 reasons why they cannot do something. One of the ways I tell my students, when they tell me I cannot write, I want to write a book, but for the past 5 years, I kept on trying to write, but I couldn't. I just asked them a simple question. Tell me the reasons why you couldn't write. And of course, the old sheets will be full. They will tell me 101 reasons why they couldn't write. Of course, that's an enterprise on its own. And I just give them one reason why they need to write. And that reason is write because you need to write. That's all. So if you need to start out on a business, you need to start out because you need to start. If you need to start out on, probably you need to take a second degree, you need to start that degree because you need to start. Because by the time you begin to think about that enterprise, you will give room to fear and you wouldn't be courageous enough to start out. In fact, the most difficult phase of a project, we have different phases in projects. Now, the most difficult phase in a project is actually the beginning, the initial point of the project. In fact, it's even shown that more than 90% of people that want to start a project, they stop at the initial point. And of course, physics at the same time approves this. There is a force we call the force of inertia. In fact, inertia is a force on its own. So I should say inertia. So it's a force that resists movement or that resists a change. So every human, we actually have inertia to start a particular thing or to bring forth a change. So that means that there is a fear. You are afraid of losing your capital. You are afraid of those things that will happen that you wouldn't just like. You are afraid of probably how am I going to get the capital for this business? You are afraid of how am I going to pay the school fees? I interacted with someone sometimes ago. I asked, please, why haven't you started your master's? And she told me that I don't have the money for the fees. I don't have what to pay to start my master's, my degree. And I asked, how much is the fees? And she was just blank. She don't even know the amount in the first place. And believe you me, when we made a research, we discovered that that amount, she can afford it. But because of fear, she didn't even start out. She didn't ask, how much do I need? Okay, I now know the amount that I need. How will I go about it? How am I going to generate that particular amount? Can you see that several people, they actually stop at the initiation phase of a particular project because of fear, and that is because of lack of courage. So one of the ways in which you can break off fear, one of the ways in which you can build courage is one, knowledge. You need to know. So that's the first thing. If you are afraid of a particular thing, then that is the time to know about that particular thing. If you need to start out on a project, then that is, and you are afraid, that's the time to seek knowledge. You need to seek knowledge, read books, ask people about the project. If you need to go online, please do that. And of course, we are in an age that knowledge is just there, information is just there. So you can go there, seek for knowledge, seek for whatsoever, get knowledge in that respect. And of course, when you get knowledge in that respect, in a way that will build courage, you would learn, and that will help you dissipate fear. So in the verge of getting knowledge, some of the things that are making you afraid, by the time you are reading or you are acquiring knowledge in that respect, those things you will get answers to them, and of course they will dissipate. So that's one way in which you can build courage. The second is acknowledge. Now, the first is knowledge. The second is acknowledge. Now, from the word acknowledge, we can split that word acknowledge into act and knowledge. So we have ACT, which is accept. We can split the word into accept, then knowledge. The word AC is for accept, and the remaining part, which is knowledge. So when we talk of acknowledge in the real sense, it means that you are accepting knowledge. So when I acknowledge a particular thing, that means I accept that knowledge. I accept that thing that I read. I accept that thing or that knowledge that I've acquired in whatsoever means I have acquired it. So it follows. Number one, go for knowledge to build courage. Go for knowledge in that line of enterprise, in that line of study whatsoever. Two, acknowledge. Now you need to accept the knowledge. You need to accept, what you have gained when you were acquiring knowledge. And that is very important. Some people, they stop at knowledge and they never accept the knowledge they have acquired. And if you do not accept the knowledge you have acquired, you will still be in fear. You wouldn't build courage. That is number two. Number three is faith. This is very important, very, very important. And faith here has to do with willing to act on the accepted knowledge. Can you see it follows one another? You go for knowledge, which is one. Two, you acknowledge. That means you accept the knowledge you have gained. Three is faith. Now you are willing to act on the accepted knowledge. So if what example can I give? Let's assume that I want to start out on a new business or on a new enterprise now, and I'm damn afraid. I'm afraid of going into the business, or I'm afraid of starting out on that project. First of all, I seek knowledge in that respect. Okay, that is two, one, and these features are actually common to successful people. Two, I accept the knowledge. And three, I am willing to act on the knowledge that I've accepted, which is, of course, faith. And of course, if you do not believe what you have acquired, you do not believe on yourself, you do not believe on what you think about yourself, you will actually not act on that particular thing. Now, the fourth way in which you can build courage, and that is define failure. You need to actually know the definition of failure. Now, you must understand that failure is a way of not getting something done. Okay? So, if you start out on a business and you failed, you have actually not failed. You have only learned a way not to do that particular business, or you have learned not to do that business in that particular way. You only fail when you accept the failure. So when you are damn not afraid of failing, you know that if you tried something out and you do not succeed in it, that is not failure in its own. You have gained experience. You have learned a way not to do that particular thing. In fact, you are better off than that individual that did not start out at all. Someone, a senior person, a senior colleague told us something. He said, when you are ready, when you are supposed to go for an exam, go for it. Either you are ready for the exam or not. When it is time to go for that exam, go for it. And he said that when you go for it, you will gain experience. Either you come out successful or not, you are better than that individual that didn't go for that exam at all. By the time you are going for the exam, probably the second time, you are more experienced. You know what to do. You know the type of questions you are expecting. You know the anatomy of the exam. You are more experienced. So I need to define failure, that failure is not the failure that you know as your definition. Okay, you only fail when you accept that you have failed. Until you accept that you have failed, you have not failed. Until you accept that you have failed, that's when you are going to retire on that particular enterprise. But when you are not accepting and you are going the other way to try out that thing, then you will definitely get to the success line. And that is another way in which you build courage. The fifth is to turn deaf ears to discouragement. Do you know what? When you want to start a thing, especially when you share it with people, especially people that are not successful, they in a way project themselves into you and they want to discourage you. They'll be like, can you do this thing? Don't you know that you will need this before you can achieve this? Don't you know that this and this and this and that? The reason is just because They are projecting themselves into you. And you know that is why, first of all, you need to be convinced of yourself before you actually share your dream with another person. If you are not convinced of your dream, then there's no point sharing it with another person. You need to actually be convinced. That is why I started out by saying that, well, some of the ways in which you can build courage is knowledge, acknowledgement, faith. So if you have these three things, by the time you are sharing with someone, or someone gets to know your dream and they kind of discourage you, you won't be discouraged, because in the first instance, or in the first place, you are convinced of your dream and you are convinced of yourself. You know, someone shared a story recently, and he said in a village of lizards, there was famine and they needed to look for food, and they were searching for food for this. And a particular day, they got to a particular tree. The tree was very tall, and they need to go up the top of the tree to get the food. And you know what? All the lizards, the young lizards, they climbed. And by the time when they were climbing, the older ones were on the ground, and they were afraid for their sons, children that were climbing. And they were like, "Please come down. We can continue with the farming. You don't have to go again." And yeah, one of the lizards, one after the other, they turned back. Okay, they turned back until one of the lizards was left, and the lizard went all the way to get the food. And you know, when the lizard got the prize, got the food, and came down, everyone, they were hailing. May I say that all those that discourage you today, they would actually appreciate and celebrate you tomorrow when you hit the target. So you shouldn't allow other people to define your step in life. You shouldn't allow them to define what you need to do. Now, when the lizard came down, do you know the funny thing? The lizard was now admiring them, like, "What have I done? Why are you guys hailing me?" And they had to tell him that this, and that. And the lizard said, "Have you forgotten that I am dead?" So that means that the lizard didn't even hear them cry, didn't even hear what they were saying. And that is why that lizard was able to get to the apex of the goal. So I need to say that you need to be convinced of yourself, and you need to turn off your ears to discouragement. People will definitely project themselves into you, and you should be careful to make them define your life. This is important. The sixth is confession. Now, when you are convinced of your goal, you have gone through knowledge, acknowledgement, faith, defining what failure is and what is not. And of course, you are not allowing people to define you. You need to confess what you believe. You need to confess the end point of your result. And this is actually very, very important. And this is what gives room to writing out your goals, to reading your goals to yourself by the day. Because by the time you read it and you hear it, you need to read it and hear it. That's confession. You don't have to say it in your heart alone. You need to actually read and hear it. There's a way of reading and hearing what you say that helps you dissipate fear. Just imagine if you are going for an exam, you wrote it down: "I have passed. I have done well in this exam." That's confession. Or you are starting out a business, and you are saying to yourself, "I make 200,000 in this business this month." That is confession. As you say it, your mind believes it, your mind embraces it, and in fact, that translates to your body. It helps you walk towards achieving that particular goal. And of course, the last of these 7 ways to build courage is, of course, prayers. This actually helps either way. You need to actually pray. We do know that there is the spiritual aspect to man. In fact, man is spirit. So there's the place of prayers. When you pray, those fear actually it dissipates. So those are the 7 ways in which you can build courage. I'll just run through the 7 ways. That's: 1 is courage, 2 is acknowledge, 3 is faith, 4 is you need to define what failure is, 5 is turn deaf ears to discouragement. 6 is confession. 7 is what? Prayers. Oh, thanks for joining me this evening. See you tomorrow, same venue, same time, as I will still be discussing courage. This time around, courage in creating wealth. We'll be looking at courage in creating wealth. You need to take note that I didn't say courage in creating money. Of course, wealth is actually more than money. Okay, wealth is more than that. So I'll tell you more about wealth, okay, and courage in creating wealth. Of course, when you create wealth in this respect, money will definitely comes, will definitely come into it. Now, still on in light of this topic, I would like to share one of my books with you, and you can get it on. I want to share that. Okay, that's it on the screen. Okay, so you can just go via the link over there. Okay, you can go over the link over there to get the book. Okay, it's actually, this particular book is free and it has gotten more than 1,000 downloads, so you can just go visit and download that book. It's awesome. You will definitely enjoy the book. Of course, I have other books. This is how to live above circumstances, and of course it deals how to live a victorious life, how to live above fear and all that. This book is power packed. Just check it out on my store. That's the link over there. The link is on the screen. You can check that out. These are other books I've written. You can also check the store. You will see them. Just pick up anyone that is that resonates with you. Thanks for this time. Thanks a lot. Okay, I didn't share the other books. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, this how to live above circumstances. Okay, I think you can say it. That's how to live above circumstances. Okay, and this is of the other books I have. You can check that out. Just follow the link. Now you can subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get some of these videos anytime. Just subscribe. Just click on the subscribe button, and please don't forget to click on the notification button so that you can always get new videos from me. And of course, you can join my Telegram channel. There are resources on that channel, so please do that. Okay, thanks for your time. Okay, thanks a whole lot. I celebrate you. Thanks. See you some other time. Thank you.